Hey everyone, for trichomes.com, I'm Ashley Manning, and this is Careers in Cannabis. On this show, we sit down with staffing agencies, cannabis companies, and other industry professionals to discuss employment opportunities in the burgeoning cannabis industry. Some of those who have a career in cannabis didn't choose a career in cannabis, they were born into it. This is especially true to those who live in or near the agricultural Emerald Triangle, home to homesteaders, survivalists, and poverty. And if you're not familiar with the Triangle, it's an area in Northern California that encompasses 3 counties, Mendocino, Trinity, and Humboldt, known to produce some of the highest quality and the most cannabis than any county in the United States. Growing cannabis is a way of life in this region. And today's guest was born and raised in NorCal and has always had a career in cannabis. She's here to share her journey with us. On this episode, we talk with the patent innovator, cannabis infusionist, and master grower AC Moon, founder of Crop Tops Greenhouses and Indica Innovations. Hey AC, welcome to the show.
Hey Ashley, how you doing today?
Fantastic. It's great to have you here. I know you're recovering from arm surgery, and I hope you're recovering well from that. How's that faring for you?
Thank you. I've got this awesome titanium implant that's going to help me be robo grower from here on out. I'm just going to sow the seeds with a little bit of titanium assistance. Thanks for asking, though.
Automation at its finest there.
Right? Just really get the robo flow
on this show, you know,
whatever it takes to get us planted, we're sowing the seeds of tomorrow. So why not add titanium into it now? Why not?
So as long as it's not harmful for the plant, I think we're in good shape.
We'll find out when my body turns to ashes. That's for dang sure.
Well, thank you for joining me today. The purpose of this show is to highlight industry professionals' journey in cannabis, where you started, what inspired you, and some of the predictions that you anticipate for our industry. And so I'm excited to have someone like yourself who comes from the legacy market and is involved in the Emerald Triangle. You know, I'd love to hear your take on where it all began for you. What were you doing right before you had a career in cannabis?
Well, I can honestly say that I've been going for so long, it's really hard to remember when the beginning was, but I think high school was probably the beginning. I was super advocate, kind of like the I'm going to fight for the planet type. And when I was kind of living on the streets, hustling and doing anything that I could to get by as like a kid in poverty. And my mom had cancer and everything was kind of crazy. And then I started realizing that there was medical marijuana and that there was this whole movement going on down in the Bay, just a couple of hours away from the woods that I was just completely secluded in. And that brought me into very quick advocacy. I think the only jobs I really held down before cannabis was I worked at Jack in the Box when I was 16. I was hustling out the night shift, like drive through window. I'm like, you want a cheesecake? And then the next one, I worked for the Parks and Recreational Service as an environmental aide. And I did that for about a year and a half. Oh, one other job, I was an armed guard, actually, and protected people with large weapons, which was fun. But that's about the only other things I've done besides cannabis. I've been involved since I was 19 years old. Though growing up into it, you grow up in plants anyways, so it doesn't, I don't know, it's kind of like you don't notice it. You're just like, oh, we got to go take care of the plants. You go take care of the plants. It's not like, ooh, you're on a farm. And cannabis, everybody did it. So all the kids were out in the garden. It was just kind of normal to grow up in like hippie area. We made tents out of the bottoms of these huge pot plants, you know, like tied sarongs to them and made tents and like camped out underneath them. So it was always strange to look back, but at the time you just like, this is awesome. Like this is the place to be. So, I mean, it's kind of, it's definitely changed. I can tell you that much. It's changed a whole daggone lot.
How has it changed from when you were 19 to I'm not sure of your age now, but to where you are now? What has changed?
I'm almost hitting that 40 mark where you're just like, wow, 20 years ago was just not yesterday. Okay, well, let's admit that first off. And back then, we were taking some of the first advocacies that I dealt with. We were taking rubber bullets to protect dispensaries. And when I opened my own dispensary in 2003, my first company was in 2001 at Harvest Moon Munchie Company, where I was one of the first edibles companies to create non-chlorophyll edibles, which means they're not made with cannabis butter, they're made with extracts. So back then, that was very innovative. It was leading the way in a lot of ways. So it did really well with Harvest Moon Munchie Company, platformed through many of the dispensaries and then launched my own dispensary. But right prior to that, we had such amazing amounts of, police lockdowns and literally breaking us down with rubber bullets and bricks through the windows. And there was all these crazy inner bay wars that were going on through local law enforcement. And then federal raids came in later. So living out in the woods was the much better recourse to stay safe when you're in the game. So we kind of just kept on cultivating out there. And now that I see there's this bridge that we need to bridge, and that's why I kind of like speaking out loud about it, is that there's this gap of information. Years later, we wake up and all of a sudden cannabis is legalized, and everybody that's in the woods, they're like, wait, what just happened? Like, I was just being raided yesterday. Are you serious? You can walk into a store and buy this, and people are in a culture shock even within our own culture. And so now the change has really made it so that, like we were speaking before you started recording, it's very important for us to be innovative in every expansive, because we may not be getting broken down anymore. But, just in 2012 and just recently, Grow Magazine had to deal with federal raids over a hemp farm. I've personally had to deal with federal raids all the way up in 2012, where they're at my business, they're at my home. These are legislative measures that are kept to keep us fearful and in a state. So behind locked doors, there's a lot of, I think, compliance that's coming into that, where we're now building these compliance measures so that they have less doorways to come through, the less say so on what we're doing, but it is still federally illegal. So everything's so specialized within the state. It's amazing. You cannot keep up with the legislation, the grow tactics, the innovations. Like, being somebody that's very eclectic in the industry, it's almost impossible to keep up with everything that's moving so quickly, especially in an international platform. It's like, well, Mexico, and now it's New Jersey, and then it's New York, and now we're growing in Africa, and holy cow, I'm working in Morocco, and what just happened, I'm working in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with SVG Cannabis Company, whoop whoop, my brethren, and their volcano just exploded 2 days ago. So we have cannabis farms we've been working on for 2 years that are under 7 inches of volcanic ash right now. Such amazing environmental damage. So in all
No
ways,
remediation for
everything
that.
has changed, but yet I think Mother Earth is still going to win. So we're going to have to help her out to keep our balance going and the flow going well.
I absolutely agree with you on that. There's no remediation for volcanic ash yet that I know of.
No, there isn't. We're looking into a lot. Spending all of my days right now trying to see how we can help these issues and help these people, because they don't even have drinking water. And it's imperative that we keep that innovative process going and searching for everything. And this is happening in so many different places. There's different natural disasters that are affecting their compliance, which affects their laws. And holy cow, it's nuts. I started inventing, and after I dealt with federal raids, and in my Trinity and Humboldt properties, we also dealt with severe action where, you got people parachuting, parajumping out of helicopters. They're locking all the roads down, pulling people and their kids out. My family was held with AR-15s. And so when we go into this point where we're realizing that this was only 8 or 9 years ago that these tactics and prohibitions have gone on. And I presently write for Grow Magazine. No plug intended. These people are awesome. They rock. This is grassroots horticulture. I'm friends with Skunk. Everybody, I hype everybody in the grassroots movement. But they are dealing right now with, like I said, the feds coming in with them. It was a hemp farm. It's even tested as hemp. But we're still dealing with all of these different eradication practices and fear-mongering practices, even behind all of these amazing businesses that we were building. I started inventing and became patented in 2018. I invented crop tops greenhouses. This is actually a greenhouse behind me. Thank you so much, Ashley. You bought one from me before. I love it. And just creating things is the only way that we can diversify in order to validate our journey in the cannabis industry. And so now when I'm able to consult with people doing all sorts of writing from grassroots, I mean, I even brought some, like this was where we started. And now we have such amazing
Wow.
amount of packaging and all these things that we have to innovate and compliance and child safety and everything, the grassroots of just, this is a cookie. This is a cookie on drugs. Like, what can we do? So this is what we can do is build our own businesses. And I began drawing all my logos and created all these different brochures and started trademarking and patenting and just building as much IP as I could to verify that all these legacy growers, this is Harvest Moon's logo, the tiniest version of it ever. I couldn't find any to throw in here for you. But I think right now the innovation is where we're all at. So I think it's important for us to take all of our information and start regurgitating it towards the world.
Absolutely. So your patent, that's for crop top, correct?
Yes, I have the federal patent is actually on the parabolic greenhouse. And then I have 21 micro patents that are underneath it. So micro patents are where each entity or different specialized or unique aspect of your product is in its own IP covered and protected, as well as the entire utility patent being protected as well. So it's just microtizing and each aspect of your patent so that you have room to innovate and also protect yourself in the end. So, and we can do this with processes, you can do that with recipes, you can do that with products. Like everything in this world can be protected, but it's a conversation right now and if it even matters, because it's normally about first to market.
Absolutely. So your crop top greenhouses, it's patented, but is it meant for cannabis? Because it seems interesting to patent something that's federally illegal, but maybe it's just the unique, innovative way that you were able to get it patented for all agricultural. So
Oh, absolutely. So that's one of the doorways that I actually used was when I chose those types of products. When you're looking into the cannabis industry, you're trying to be able to cross market and what else can I use this for so that you can actually patent or trademark it under an ulterior. Right now under federal trademarks, you can trademark something to do with cannabis, but it can't be cannabis itself. It could be a t-shirt company that is you're innovating a specific design. So like I draw all my own logos and I trademark my own logos, even in order to get this one, which is my consulting company, Indica Innovations, there's only half of a cannabis leaf there. But I have to prove to that office that this is not an ancillary blend. This is a non-cannabis touching object. So this is a consultant. So I may be touching the cannabis, but the product that I'm selling is just information. So it's always about these word games as
very
we go into
innovative
patents and trademarks and things on how we're protecting it. We're protecting the entire concept that we're using or the process that we're using, but we're also looking to pirate some of the verbality or the verbiage that we're using from other industries. So when I have an instant pop-up portable greenhouse, protect plants from storms, gives me a broader range of exposure, though I've only marketed in the cannabis space and it was designed, patented, innovated, off-grid, in my garden, in the middle of nowhere in the woods in Northern California. So I really, I like to give it to as many people as I can to bring back that information and to give it to schools and stuff. But I really like helping people more than anything innovate their own products and diversifying their ideas. Absolutely.
That's all great. Was there any particular inspiration for you wanting to have a career in cannabis? I mean, growing up, we're near the Emerald Triangle. I think some people are just born into it and it just is natural. But was there any type of inspiration for you?
I definitely was born into it. When you're out in the middle of the woods on 80 acres in the middle of nowhere and everybody around you is growing cannabis, smoking cannabis, it's part of the garden, like I said. It's like a row of carrots, there's the pot, there's the next row, and there's, the peas. And so back then during the hippie era, as we came to being Generation X, it inspired me because I grew up with my mom had cancer. Most of my family passed away from cancer, and when I first went into the Bay Area, I was working, just doing everything I could, and I went into a medicinal cannabis dispensary that was called Act Up, and it was specifically for cannabis related AIDS patients, cancer patients, serious chronic ailments, and I vibed with it because this is what I saw my family going through. Now that they've all passed away, I look back at those days, and that was what it really had. The soul of everything was medicinal cannabis. We were fighting for the rights to use herbal medicine instead of having being thrown opiates and all these addictive problems and liver shutting down and having these doctors paid to push pills at us. There were these people collectively coming together and cooking some bread and cooking some little goodies in their dispensary, and we just give it to the people, and we wouldn't even charge. And that was really what it was all about, is not holding addiction and pharmaceutical companies on this big pedestal, but actually grassroots, and like offering them their DIY information. Like, we can do it ourselves. We can make these cookies and these lollipops, and we can invent these things, and we can grow these cannabis plants, and we can do all these things, and we can do it ourselves. And we can also build businesses off of it and build commerce. But we can also still have a garden at home and keep some of that power for ourselves. Like,
without having people fall from helicopters into your yard for it. So
yeah,
you really paved the way and pioneered
for that to go away. No more choppers, please. Thank you.
Yes, we'll try our best. Not me personally, but we hope that we're doing the right thing by pushing the right agenda and moving forward what this plant's potential is. Not only medicinally but recreationally, also environmentally, all of the above. So you've really pioneered and paved the path for where we are today, and I think that often gets lost in the memo to those who are considering a career in cannabis. So I'd love for you to give some big sister advice to someone who is considering a career in cannabis. I feel you're someone they should be taking advice from.
I think my biggest big sister advice is thicken your skin. I think to everybody, if you want to step into the cannabis game, we called it a game for a reason. You got to be a player. You got to be an active player, and you can either be a watcher or a player. You can't get your arm broken unless you're in the farm busting your butt. You can't be just a head form of things. If you want an idea to come to fruition, write it down, learn the processes. If you want to learn an edible, search for that information, gain that information, create your own product line, launch it, do what it takes, but you got to have a thick skin. Don't think that anybody's going to hand it to you, because especially from women, people of poverty, minorities, I'm not saying it's pretty much a boys game out there, and always has been. I was one of the first women on deck before even the Weeds show was on HBO. And now that we have all these diversity and everything else, we can kind of level the playing field, but really taking it into a cultural aspect and remembering that this is for the planet. Where the only way we can do this is through community. The only way that we can change the world is through community, and cannabis is a gateway to the garden. It's not a gateway drug, it's a gateway to the garden, and we can grow a whole new world from this entire thing. It just has to be some trust and some community, and don't let it be a boys game. Stand up, hold your own, keep proving yourself, keep getting up no matter how depressed you get, no matter how discouraged you get. Keep looking for different answers. And if player one, player two, you got to be a player if you want to play the game. And even when it's in these large corporate entities, it is still a game, and it gets even worse when you're in corporate. And you start getting to CEO levels, you're dealing with more bullshickety than you ever dealt with in the garden. So just be prepared in everything that you do, and really have some conscious pathways within you. Just keep it level-headed, honest, and forthright. And I think we're all going to really be able to change the world with this plant.
That is great big sister advice. I know developing that thick skin is not easy. Sometimes you have to get that skin ripped open for it to regrow and it be that thick skin, but you can't let that one little tear beat you down. So you got to keep trying, even if you don't get the job that you applied for. You have to keep going. So thanks for sharing some big sister advice. One of my last questions for you, I have a few more questions, but one that I'd like you to touch on is, what do you see the future of cannabis? Where do you see it going globally, nationally, however you want to take that answer, go for it.
Well, I am CGMP certified internationally, as nationally certified in FDA, OSHA, OMRI, Sigma 6 certified out of Harvard. I have many different certifications, including master grower certification, all that, degree in horticulture. So I've seen a lot of the different bases, and then also being involved with innovative patent. In an international platform, that conversation is much different than national, but hemp right now is leading the way. When we're using cannabis ruderalis and hemp as a pathway opener, because of the legislation being able to be knocked down, and for us to finally be able to, learn. I saw your post about Japan. I was speaking at the International Cannabis Conference in Osaka, and we learned that all these legislations and prohibitions on a worldwide and national platform were created in order to have a monopolization of any sort of cannabis commerce that hemp would be about. It wasn't about smoking weed. It was about the fact that you could make rope and all the military supplies and everything else. And they wrote it into the Treaty Act, the Peace Treaty Act, that nobody in all of these worlds would be able to have allowed to do anything with cannabis. And in order to not be put to war, all of them made really stringent punishments, beheading if you have cannabis affiliations. So now that we're seeing our legislation start to change, it's heading the gateway for the hemp to create those pathways. So I'm part of several different groups where we now have, thousands upon thousands of hemp distributors, hemp growers, hemp manufacturers of different forms, innovating different products in a worldwide platform. And we're able to open those distribution corridors. So as we move forward to being able to scientifically prove and without a doubt bring cannabis up into a light of medicinal research, and doing it tiptoed so that big pharma doesn't buy it out from underneath us and destroy our community before we even get a chance to head out world change. Once we do that, I think that it's going to proliferate a lot of innovation, a lot of commerce, and a lot of ability to, like I said, gateway to the garden for many different cultures that have lost their way in pavement. It's going to bring us back to the earth, and I hope so. Right now I'm going into hoping that I can make sure that environmentally these larger facilities are still staying sound. And so it's really important.
That's great insights on the international aspect of things. And it was funny you mentioned about our Japan article that went out this morning. We were just talking about that before this call and how crazy that is, Won't get into too many details. You have to visit trichomes.com to see that article. What are you currently working on? I know you have lots of things in the works, and so I can only assume that you have something in the works that you're currently working on.
Right now I have 40 acres up in Northern California, right near that Emerald Triangle we used to love to talk about. And I'm hoping to go legal to have Harvest Moon Munchie Company, which is my edibles and farming and nursery company, go legal on that platform. I'm also working consulting in St. Vincent, the Grenadines, and Morocco, 2 other countries, and hopefully now Thailand, of where I'm helping these third world countries innovate. I've just written a children's book, which I showed you a little sneak peek of, that I'm getting printed. And I'm also training to be an ISO internal assessor and auditor for the federal government. So taking all of my education and all my 23 plus years in cannabis and hoping to try to bridge that gap between federal compliance and having environmental standards really match up with what we need as cultivators or what we need as manufacturers, and just how industry can come together with earth and have cannabis kind of be that osmosis and that binder for positive change, not negative change. So hopefully all these things will come to fruition and I have more patents going on as well. And I'm writing another book. We had more stories go out. This book, Cannabis Conversations, out on Amazon. with Dr. Dougherty, put together 23 experts. And so I had written some in there. Like I said, I write for Grow Magazine. So we keep pushing every day, and the seeds are out underneath the crop tops right now. The clones are going. We're getting ready for another year. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm incredibly excited to know you, and this has been a very good conversation for us. I think it's important again that your story is heard, so others can understand and others can start speaking up who have a similar story to you as well. I think the more we can really educate people about the past, present, and future is important to moving the agenda forward. As a group said yesterday to me, for the plant, by the plant. And I think that starts with bridging all past, present, and future people together for the plant.
Absolutely.
And
even the generation behind us, I'm often talking to Pebbles Trippett, all my beautiful friends at Emerald Cup. We started 12 years ago, sitting on the week of the Emerald Cup. It's the week of 420 right now. And what's amazing is bringing all these generations of our culture together and really heading up this change. So I appreciate everything you're doing, and it's been great talking to you, Ashley. You're awesome.
Too. You are as well, AC. Do you mind if our listeners reach out to you?
No, you're more than welcome. You can find me at AC Moon at pretty much all platforms, except for LinkedIn. You'll see me as AC Moon Cameron, and I'm at indicainnovations.com. And so also check out my product, croptopsgreenhouses.com. Instant plug, drip, sorry about that. And I hope that everybody has a most awesome 420 this weekend. We're going to be doing some more entrepreneurial conferences. So people that want free tickets to the Real Cannabis Entrepreneur Conference, I believe that we have 30 free tickets, and we're just giving them away for people to kind of party with other ideas of more entrepreneurism like what you're doing. So we really appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you, AC, for sharing that. And it's A.C. Moon, if you are looking for AC on LinkedIn. All right, AC. Well, it was great chatting with you. And I really look forward also to this being an in-person interview on your farm and really scoping out the landscape of the Emerald Triangle and seeing what it's really about, because I haven't been in the Emerald Triangle yet. I've only been around it. So
well, you definitely have to come out. We're going to do some hash yoga, some little bending, a little burning in the garden, and come up with a whole bunch of great ideas, and we're going to follow them through and just change the world together. Let's do that.
Let's do it. All right, AC. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great day, girl.
My thanks again to AC Moon for being my guest on today's episode. You can follow our series Careers in Cannabis, as well as more great shows like this one at trichomes.com. If you're a member of the cannabis community and you have a story you want to share with us, please reach out. You can reach the show by emailing careersincannabis@trichomes.com. Please take a second to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. It really helps others to find the show. You can also join in the discussion with industry insiders by visiting trichomes.com and following us on all social media. For trichomes.com, I'm Ashley Manning. Thank you for listening, and be well.